Okay, thank you everybody for joining in. If somebody can just text to indicate that they're able to hear me. Okay, good. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in. This will be our last webinar of this course, Public Administration 6123, Economic Development. And this is a discussion about the final exam. I have finished working on the final exam this evening. You will be able to access it tomorrow at noon. So tomorrow morning, tomorrow afternoon, before 12 o'clock, it will be posted online, and you will have until 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time, May 2nd, to complete it. So you will have a total of 5 full days, 5.5 days to complete the final. The final, I know how many questions are on it, but obviously I'm not going to tell you directly. The final has between 2 and 3 questions on the final. It covers topics that I just mentioned in an announcement that I sent out to everybody earlier this week. There was an article. There were a couple of article links in that announcement. There were actually 2 article or website links in that announcement, as well as some topics about location quotients, economic base analysis, and SWOT analysis, as well as any information that may have been covered in the chapters from your text of Blakely and Lee, chapters 3, 6, 7, 8, 11, 12, 13, and 14. Anything from those chapters is game as well. The goal of the exam will be with respect to a practitioner, will be practitioner oriented. So from the standpoint of preparing for the exam, you can obviously study, you should obviously review what you've done, but at the same time, in some ways you're going to be, I'm expecting you to respond to questions from the exam as if you were, say, working for a jurisdiction and having to prepare work product. That's kind of what I'm expecting in the course of this exam. And I've talked a little bit in the past with respect to work product. The idea is not to provide a lot of filler, but to focus on substance, focus on what the questions that are being asked in the exam questions, and focus, providing succinct and meaningful answers with respect to the information that we provide, answers to the questions that are provided in the exam. There is one additional item that is applicable to the exam, and I just posted an announcement that you should receive by email. There is a video that I would like you to watch. It's a little over 30 minutes, and it is an interview that I have done with a professional economic developer here in Eastern North Carolina. I am asking you to watch this because I am or could ask some questions based on his interview. And if you think about the interview with Mr. Higgins that we did, that we shared with you, the 60 Minutes interview that we shared earlier in the semester, you might find some differences of opinion. You might find similarities. So it's a kind of an opportunity to compare and contrast approaches. You could sit there and look at the gentleman who does the interview that I've posted, and you can see that there are some significant differences between him and Mr. Higgins, who we profiled from 60 Minutes. And you might find some similarities as well. So certainly something to take a look at as we move forward. And that might be part of the final exam. But I certainly encourage you to watch it. Again, it's only 30 minutes, a little over 30 minutes. So it should be something you should be able to watch and then be able to process through in answering an exam question as you prepare. I will also tell you there will be an opportunity for extra credit as well. So there will be an extra credit opportunity like there was with the midterm. Overall, I have had a chance to look at some of the final projects, and I've been happy. And I haven't had a chance to look into article postings, and I think everybody has, in general, I think most people have done what the assignment was intended to do. And I will certainly provide grades for those assignments when I send you an email. So you should receive an email from me early next week after the 2nd, probably on the 4th, 5th, or 6th, between the 4th and the 7th, from me personally, that outlines your project grades, your final project grades, your final exam grade, and of course your course grade. I will make sure to send that out to everybody. I do feel like you deserve that. So you will receive that exam, that grade from me sometime between now and May 7th, once you've completed the exam. Of course, remember the deadline for the exam is 11:59 p.m. Eastern on May 2nd. Now, if you looked at the assignment grade, the deadline for the project, you might have noticed that I put AM instead of PM for that assignment today. But what I will go ahead and tell you is, I think I might have accidentally communicated PM, and so I am going to be respectful and go ahead and recognize that the assignment, the final project assignment, is due by 11:59 p.m. tonight. I've noticed that there are a couple of extra assignments that are being turned in after 11:59 a.m. today, but I think what might have happened is I might have said in a prior statement or made a mistake in an email. So if you get it done, if you get your final project turned in by 11:59 p.m. tonight, it will receive full credit. It will not be, it won't receive partial credit. Also, I can imagine some of you are having to deal, maybe some of you here in the eastern part of the state might be dealing with some issues with respect to the flooding, which has returned due to the heavy rains we've had earlier this week. So what I want to do now that I have kind of covered topics and chapters and anything that may be included on the exam is, if anybody wants to ask any questions regarding the exam, you can enter them into the chat portion. I'll be happy to answer them at this time. I'll be happy to answer any questions that might be the case. Can the exam be a group effort? Oh my goodness. Typically, exams are not group efforts. I am not going to demand that you, as a student, fill out a form that says you work on it on your own. But I do expect everybody to submit their own final exam. So if, and it's interesting that these are coming from the two people who have asked this are coming from the same, interestingly enough. But what I will tell you is, if you work on it, if you want to discuss it, but I do ask that you work on it separate, that when you write your answers, that it doesn't look like I'm reading a repeat. I want everybody to put their own work into it, but I guess what I'll say is, I don't mind if you work on them, say if you're conversing back and forth, but I do expect that you as an individual complete the work, not copy and paste a collective effort. I don't want to read the same thing over and over again. If I read the same thing over and over again, I'm going to consider that to be less than full effort. I'm not going to declare it cheating, but I'm certainly not going to give it full credit. So I will leave it at that. APA format. That is fine. That's what I prefer, but I don't expect you to source the final. Don't expect you to provide sourcing for the final. So don't worry about bibliography in the final. So you don't need to worry about APA. When you record the recording later tonight, as soon as the recording is over, it takes a couple of minutes for the webinar service to prepare it, and then once that is done, then it will be available for me to upload. So as quickly as I can, it'll be up there. So that's how that will work. Okay, we have submitted our final report with the presentation draft. In your case, just send me an email to remind me that you did that. If you've done that, just send me an email to remind me that you did that, so that I can check that. I wasn't expecting that, but if that's what you did, that's fine, and I'll accept it. perfectly fine, but you may be wrong. Hernan by the 6th, so we're going to get them. No, you're right. It's the 6th, so you'll get them by the 6th. I thought I had until the 7th, but I haven't looked at the um, schedule in a couple of days, and so I apologize. You will get your grades before the deadline. Trust me. I care about making sure that that y'all get them on time, and I certainly care about making sure that I don't make any mistakes in that. So if the deadline's the 6th, they'll be in by the 6th. Okay. Yep. No problem. But yeah, and then also for those of you, I know of at least one, I think maybe two. For those of you who are graduating, I have to get yours in sooner. So you're the first ones I have to grade and complete the grading process for, so I can turn in your grades first, and then everybody else obviously is next. That's just the way it is, because I want to make sure that obviously that the registrars have graduate grades or those who are going through graduation process first before everybody else. So we'll make sure that's taken care of. But yes, everybody will get their grades in proper order. For some reason, I thought I had until the 7th. I will tell you why that's the case, because I'm used to graduations being on Saturdays, and my father, who was a college professor for 35 years, the graduation would be on Friday, and if you were an underclass or you were not graduating, the deadline was on Sunday, and that's what I was used to him dealing with. And now that I realize that a lot of graduations here are done on Fridays, it means Saturday. So that's the confusion there. So we'll get that worked out. But my goal is to try to finish the grading on the 3rd and 4th. That is my goal, so that I'm not having to wait until the 5th and 6th. I'm happy to answer more questions with respect to the final. If you happen to be calling in and want to unmute your line to ask a question, you may do so. Yes, between either 2 or 3 regular questions plus 1 extra credit question. Question was asked, how many questions? 2 or 3 questions for the full credit of the exam plus 1 extra credit question. How long should we expect to spend on this? Well, typically a final is designed to not last any longer than 3 hours. So my intention is you will spend no more than 3 hours on it. Now, I obviously want you to spend less on it, but I think the way that I'm going to approach it is a way that will guarantee that it's going to be probably in the 2 to 2.5 hour, and that includes the fact that I'm asking you to watch something for 30 minutes. So I will keep that in mind. I know that I'm asking you to watch something for the final as a special reading assignment, and I need to include that into the final time. So typically, finals, you get 3 hours. My goal is to kind of keep it at 2 to 2.5 total time, including watching the video. I hope that you'll take some time to watch the video before completing the final. That's why I'm giving you the amount of time I'm trying to give you to complete it. Any special formatting we should consider? No, but don't use cover sheets. I would just say one thing: don't use cover sheets. I know many of you, when I've received assignments, I've received cover sheets. There's no need for them. Just title it "Final Exam." Make sure your name and such is on there, and we'll go from there. The other thing I would say is just designate that you're answering how you answer each question. So, but like question 1 as a header for each question. If there's anything where it asks for a report, if I was to do that, you can obviously write it as if you were writing a report, whatever format you use for that. And I may make some comments about that. I'm going to try my best as we're going into this final to be a little more descriptive with any comments. And this includes comments that don't necessarily apply to your grade. And I want to be careful with that. Yes, like I said, I know APA calls for a title page, but this is a final, not a paper. I understand the concern. I know you guys probably, there might be some faculty who are a little more particular about this. I can tell you right now, if you submit a title page for everything in the practitioner world, that's not a good thing. I can tell you that right now. So I know some of you do that. That's fine. But let me tell you this, do not submit a final with a title page. I don't think I ever submitted a final with a title page. And I used APA when it came to how I handled bibliography. So, or works cited. I apologize. When it comes to APA, it's works cited. But just don't worry about it, because I'm not expecting, unless something is very different. If you want to use it, you can. But don't worry about title pages. I hope you've looked at, as I've done the grading, that I'm not as particular about some of the academic formatting when it comes to exams. And the reason why is, unless you're planning to go pursue a PhD, I imagine most of you are going or are either going into the practitioner field or are using this degree to expand your opportunities within your existing career in the practitioner field. And most of the stuff you do in the practitioner field does not have a cover page. As a budget person, as someone who works professionally with budgets on an annual basis, cover pages to me is more money spent on printing costs. Cover pages means binding, which means more money spent on printing costs. So I hope that kind of gets you the idea of why. Don't worry about the cover pages. Just make sure that it's labeled final. Make sure that you got your name on it. Make sure that's turned in on time. And then if I say write a report, you might say to yourself, how would I write this as a report that would be understood by a practitioner? And that's important. So I hope that answers the question. Are there any other questions? Will you post all our grades on Blackboard? If I can figure out how to do it, yes. I'll be honest, they have not provided any training for me on Blackboard at the campus level. So whatever I'm doing with Blackboard is based on my ability to figure it out. So it's kind of like a person who knows how to use the basic features of software, but doesn't know everything. So my goal is to provide you with the grades. I got to then submit them. More than likely, that means I'll probably do them through Blackboard, but I'll have to figure it out. But I'll make sure that you get them. How should we expect to hear from you? At the very least, you'll get an email. That's what I like to do. I want to make sure I give you all an email. That's how we've been communicating. And I know for some of you, I haven't had the chance to actually meet you in person. Some of you I have. I appreciate the couple that came to Monday and participated in the presentation we did on site. That was wonderful. It was nice to be able to actually do something in a classroom. Or in that case, in the library over at Brewster. It was fun to do that. This is not easy because I never, as a student, I think I've taken one online class like this, and it was actually for a certificate program, not for a degree. So it is a little different, but I hope that the way the course has come across, that you've actually learned some things, because that's what's important. So you will at least get an email from me. Every student will still get an email from me, just like I've given email responses to assignment completions and grading on assignments throughout the course of this semester. It will, yeah. The BLS, good. Someone has done some homework, done some pre-gaming, which I applaud. There's a website listed in that email, which is the BLS Handbook on Occupations. The exam if there was an exam question on that, it would be pretty clear. So don't worry about it. The fact that you've looked at it and gone, oh, okay, that should give you some ideas about what um, that should give you an idea, because you should be able to use that as a very effective reference. And that's the thing to understand as practitioners. As a practitioner, you're not going to have the opportunity to do the in-depth level of research. I can tell you right now, my biggest pet peeve as a practitioner who likes to present at academic conferences is, unless I am affiliated with a university in an adjunct capacity, I can't just go online and pull research articles from research journals, because I'm not a student. I'm not a member of faculty. Now, because I'm working at ECU right now, I can do that, and it's wonderful. So if I want to write a research paper so that I, as a practitioner, can talk to professors and go to their conferences and have some interaction with them and say, hey, I'm presenting you with this research idea. Why don't you also look at some other topics I'm interested in getting your feedback and your esteemed wisdom on and your abilities on? I can talk their language. The problem is, when you're working in the practitioner community, you don't get access to that stuff. Unless you choose to retain your ASPA membership, which, if you are a member of ASPA, great. I thank you. I appreciate it. And I encourage you to remain involved in it, remain active as a member in ASPA. You won't necessarily do anything in ASPA, but at least continue your membership so you can get PAR and continue to hopefully read read an article or two each year. But at the end of the day, whatever professional field you go into, whether it's municipal management, municipal finance, municipal budgeting, economic development, whatever the case may be, the practitioner group will have research for you to look at, but it's going to be written in more a practitioner, easy to read format. It's not going to be in an academic format. And also, when it comes to doing your own research for your job, you're going to find yourself limited primarily to things that are more practitioner oriented, which a lot of that is done by federal agencies. The Bureau of Labor Statistics does a lot of research on labor markets and helping us understand careers and occupations and doing forecasts of where they think we'll be. They pretty much do that, and it's great because that's the resource that we have if we're looking at the economy, to be able to look at it and go, oh, we have this. Now, there's other research that's done by private firms, but not everybody necessarily has access to it. You got to pay for it to get it to begin with. So this is a way. If you've learned anything, you've learned that the Bureau of Labor Statistics and the Bureau of Economic Analysis, which they're the ones who do the GDP reports, the next of which is coming out the end of this week on Friday, which will be the first report of first quarter 2017 gross domestic product activity. So you kind of get to see how the economy has reacted to the fact that we have a new president. The reality is, those resources become more and more important as you go into practitioner field, because those are the resources that you have readily available, that you can get to at a moment's notice, that you don't have to pay for, that provide information and present it in terms that people can either understand, or that you can kind of figure out once you've learned who you're working with. You can figure out, hey, this is the kind of information I need to share, and this is how I need to share it. So that's important as well. Any other questions? Any other questions? Are you going to share the work we did for assignment 6 with this class? Yes, I am. I'm going to put that together and make it available for everybody. It's probably going to be towards the end. It's going to be sometime next week, but I'll make sure to share it in an email so that you don't have to come back to the Blackboard. I know these Blackboards are available for a while, but I will make sure that it's sent out to everybody. And I appreciate everybody for their work, because I hope that they saw, as they're working through that assignment, how there was a method to my madness in saying, hey, this is a resource that everybody can share. Overall, people did a good job on those reports, and that certainly helps out because it makes it to where it's a good body of work for the class as a whole. And I will go ahead and tell you, there is a possibility on the final that the bonus question may have to do with an additional resource that I really did not get into. I'll be honest, it's not a resource that I really got into during our discussion of resources. So it's possible that final question might involve an additional resource and some looking at the additional resource and how it would be applicable given economic development. So just something to make you aware of. Any other questions regarding the final? I've gotten some very good questions. Happy to keep answering them. Give you all about 60 more seconds and then we're going to finish up. Okay, seeing that there aren't. Wait, I got one more. You'll post final tomorrow at what time? By 12 noon. It'll probably be a little before 12 noon because I got to be somewhere at noon. So sometime tomorrow morning, before 12 noon, the final will be posted. It'll be sent out to everybody by email. And you'll have a chance to read it and start working on it. Specific which should look in addition to book. Those will be explained in the if I choose to do that, that would be explained in the final, in the question itself regarding economic based analysis. But when it comes to economic based analysis, it's more about the concepts of what you're doing, and then you go from there. I will say this: my goal is you will stay within North Carolina. So keep that in mind with respect to any analysis questions and how analysis reflects, doing work with respect to looking at it. But I don't want to get too. I don't want to tell you too much at this point. But that whatever I do, North Carolina is where it's going to be located. Any other questions? Okay. Any other questions? Okay. I am going to go ahead and close at this point. So thank you guys very much for tuning in. It's been wonderful this semester. I appreciate everybody's participation. I hope you all have learned something during the course of this semester, and I look forward to seeing what y'all do with the final. So thank you guys very much. Thank you for your participation. Thank you for your involvement in the MPA program in East Carolina. And I appreciate I've enjoyed it, and hopefully I get another opportunity to do this in the future with the university. But I do appreciate all of y'all being involved and being as cooperative and patient working with me. So thank you guys very much, and have a great, enjoy the rest of the semester, and look forward to seeing your work out there in the real world. But congratulations. Those of you who are graduating, bigger congratulations, and take care, and good night, and good luck on the final. Bye.